with that, let me introduce our special guest for this episode, our Marine Unit, Officer Michael Skinner and Officer Ron Dixon. Thank you guys for coming here today.
Thanks for having us, Chief.
Yes.
The podcast came about really when we hit COVID, and it was during a time when we couldn't do town halls and people just couldn't be in small places. So we figured, why not utilize this new thing called a podcast? Everyone loves podcasts, and it was an opportunity for us to do basically a virtual town hall. So we could then bring in the officers, talk one-on-one, talk about what's going on in real time with respect to maybe traffic or the roundabouts, and inform the public on what's going on.
Let's talk about some upcoming things. So let's talk about our Marine Unit. So what do we have? About 6, 7, 8 boats and captains and...
And what I love about the podcast is, and I kind of was listening to my kids one day, and they were telling me about all these podcasts that they listen to, and really, we're always trying to hit our market in our city, right? We're trying to still get the kids to be a part of what we're trying to do here, and I know the adults, the older kids, appreciate podcasts. And so the idea was, if you went out jogging, you could listen to the podcast. If you were working out, you could listen to the podcast. If you're cooking food with your family, you could listen to the podcast. So this can go anywhere with you, and you're getting information that's relevant to the city that you live in. It's amazing. And what I love too is, because we do still have people that are seasonal here, they're in Canada listening to it. They're in Europe listening to it. They're in California listening to it. So I mean, what better platform really to get our message out?
You know, what's different than the patrol that you may see in a patrol car is that, you know, we're constantly, you know, our vision is got to be 360 degrees out there. We got to know what's on the water, what's in the water, be familiar with weather, tides, updated boating laws, questions, concerns people have, whether it be about federal questions with chartering boats, to city ordinance questions.
Yeah, and in that last podcast, that was a perfect example. You saw how they changed the table on me, and they started asking me questions. And Officer Skinner and Officer Dixon, their personalities are just, they're amazing. I mean, they're just amazing people. But then as we transitioned into questions about boating and safety, you saw their demeanor in the room change, and they became serious. And so I love that they have that ability to bring humor, but they also have the ability to be serious when it comes time. And then they have the ability to go back. When I challenged them to do a PSA impromptu, they did it on the spot. Sometimes I think people in the city don't see what we're doing, so they assume we're not doing anything. But we're educating, we're encouraging, and then we're enforcing.
Hilarious. And, you know, sometimes a defense mechanism, right, guys?
Yeah.
You know, depending on the situations. And I know you guys have seen a lot. So what I like to do is, let's jump on. You were born and raised here, Mike.
One of the purposes of the podcast is to humanize the officers, to remind people that these are your neighbors. These are people you went to school with. Cops are not born in a hospital in the police section, right, as babies. And then it's, oh, this person's going to be a police officer, and this is what they're geared towards. And in talking to Officer Dixon, at one point, he was living in LA wanting to become a screenwriter. And then does a 180, comes back here, and then this is where he's at. So we're all human. We all have a story and a backstory. And I think if people outside of here understood that, they would probably have a little more grace with officers and a little more respect, because they have chosen a profession that is very difficult, that is very demanding.
I just want to say thanks for taking the time. For coming off the boats to come in here and do this. Really do respect what you both do for the agency and how you represent the agency on the water, so thank you.
Thank you.
I love doing it. It really gives me an opportunity to spend some quality time with the officers. We have fun with it, like you said, and I learned so much in there because, as you know, I ask personal questions about their past, and I try to dig a little bit, and they try to throw one by me, and I'll grab it. I'm like, not getting away with that one. I want to know about that time, right? And it has really afforded me the opportunity to get even closer with my officers. And the feedback that we've gotten has just been, it's been amazing. It really has been. The transparency, for people to know that we care that much about our officers, we care that much about our community, just really says a lot about what we're trying to do here, not only in the police department, but as a whole in the city of Sarasota.